are you?
So much better today than I was yesterday.
Want to tell the story?
Yeah, you know those nights where you just can't sleep for shit,
No matter what you do.
no matter what you do. Honestly, I think this was one of the worst ones I've had. There are times in which I'm up till like 3 a.m. and like finally I fall asleep. I was up until 6:30 in the morning. I was losing my mind.
Does the sun rise at 6:30?
Yeah. Yes, it does. I mean, it started getting light out. As soon as it starts getting light out and you like cancel it, you're like, oh my God, my anxiety just spikes.
What did you do that whole time?
So I laid in bed for a while. I kept would put my phone down. I would just like stare at the wall, close my eyes. And then after a while, I was like, they tell you to get out of bed. Like when you can't sleep, they tell you to get out of bed.
The sleep experts? I've never heard that. I had no idea.
They tell you like if you can't sleep, you shouldn't stay in bed because then you start associating your bed with like not being able to sleep. Like you should get up and do something quietly, like outside of your bed. So I didn't know that. Yeah, I laid for a while, a really long time. And then I went downstairs. I got some food. So it's just like, maybe if I eat something, after you eat, sometimes you get tired. Yeah. So I was like, maybe if I eat something, that'll help. So I ate some food and then I laid on the couch and I watched TV and the thing that sent me over the edge, I didn't even tell you this. I fell asleep for like 2 seconds. You know, when you fall asleep and you have so much anxiety about falling asleep that like your brain is like, oh yeah, you fell asleep. And then it wakes you up.
Yes. Yes.
That happened and that sent me over the edge because I was like, finally, I fell asleep. But anyway, make a long, boring story short.
Is that when you started crying?
Yeah, I started crying at 5 a.m. because I fell asleep for a little and then I woke up and I was like, oh yes, like I'm getting tired. So I went back into bed and I laid in bed and I couldn't fall back asleep again. And then I just lost it. And so then I cried for maybe like 30 minutes.
And then emailed us at 5:30 in the morning.
And then emailed you and said, I need to cancel my morning because I'm unwell.
You're going to have to take all the meetings.
You're going to have to take all the meetings, which was amazing.
Fine. No problem.
Because when there's early meetings too. Yeah. Anyway. So I just had a rough, and I was functioning the next day on like 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah, it was not good situation.
No.
You did great on that podcast we were on.
Thank you so much.
I was like, okay, I'll take, I like said to your friend, I was like, I will talk nonstop so you don't have to talk. And you were fine.
Yeah. I drank a ton of coffee.
You can really fake it if you need to.
Truly.
Yeah, I would say so.
But I could only do like one thing that day. You know what I mean? Like I had energy. That expended all of my energy. So that was it. That's all I had.
Okay. Well, speaking of energy, yes. Sydney wrote in and she said, what Olympic sport or event would you want to compete in? Obviously, assuming you are great at it.
Does it have to be an Olympic sport?
Or that's the fucking question, Jen.
Right.
Respect the question from Sydney, okay?
I thought we could like add an Olympic
sport. No, what were you going to add?
Canva.
No, you have to pick a sport, an Olympic sport.
Okay.
Speed walking.
You would be so good at speed walking.
I walked 6 miles this morning. I love
so
walking
much
and talking and moving and grooving. I love all those things. Oh, I don't know. I mean, come on. The gymnast and the swimming is obviously incredible.
I would drown.
No, but the question is, you're great at the sport.
Oh, you have to be good.
You're at Olympic level, so you can choose any sport.
Breakdancing, obviously. Easy.
They're taking it out. Did you know that?
No.
For the next Olympics, I guess the next ones are in LA. The next summer ones are in LA. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, you can already enter the lottery for tickets.
Who knew?
Everyone who lives in LA.
Yeah.
No, it's only because my good friends from LA were here this weekend.
Right.
And they're like, are you going to come out to see us for the Olympics? And I was like, that's my hell, but Aaron would love to.
Wow, really?
Yeah, so like they already know who's like doing it 12 years from now. Like the Olympics, they are working on for like years beforehand because a lot of cities have to build shit.
Wow. Yes. I guess that makes sense. So yeah, I guess breakdancing in this last Olympics, and then I think gymnastics because it's so
Because they're so
cool.
cool. They're so
It's
cool, right?
so cool and so much fun
Yes.
to if it was winter, probably ice skating.
Oh, ice skating. I would do snowboarding. That's dope. Bobsledding. Recently,
Bob's oh,
we watched Cool Runnings with Millie. So this summer, we have done where I was like, I can't watch another goddamn cartoon. I'm going to lose my mind. So this summer, we're like, Millie, we're only gonna watch movies that mommy and daddy loved growing up. That sounds like abusive when I say it that way, but she was totally down. Like she's like, yes, you guys love it. I love it, right?
oh,
So
that's
this
nice.
summer we watched Little Giants, The Big Green, Cool Runnings, Parent Trap, um, all the Honey I Shrunk the kids, parents
It's
blew up, all the
good.
fucking ones. They are just amazing. But let me tell you, PG from the 90s is really more like PG-13. A lot of making out in these movies.
Really?
A lot of like love interest. And I was like, oh, she's a little
Yeah.
young. And now she's like, really, it was like, I want to get married to someone and kiss someone. And I'm like, I'm not ready for that.
What about Homeward Bound?
It's so sad. I can't.
So sad.
So sad. Same thing. I was like, oh, little princess. And I was like, no,
Oh
I'm
no.
not showing her the trauma movies.
Do not scar
No,
her
no.
like we were scarred.
Yes, yes. Okay, but today's episode is not about movies from the 90s. Today's episode, really, which is about disclosing versus reframing. So, when to bite our tongue versus when to speak up. And this is very funny for you and I to have this conversation because I'm the queen of when I need to shut the hell up, and you're the queen of when you need to speak the hell up.
Yeah, that's why this is such a good one for
That's
us.
why this is hilarious for us, right? So, I'm going to start out
Do it.
with somebody who wrote in, where is the line? Are there questions we can ask ourselves when debating to say something versus when to stay quiet?
I have some.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. One of
And
them
speak
is
up.
thank you so much. um, one of them is how long has this been bothering me?
Mm,
So like if something has been gnawing at you um for a really long time, like it's a signal that it's time to speak up. Another one is if I don't bring this up, how will it affect me? And then how will it affect my relationship in the long run?
mhm.
There are certain things, right, that your partner's going to do that are going to bother you. It's just the nature of being in a relationship.
Or the person you share the cubicle with. I mean, it's like we're talking about
Right.
any relationships here. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. 100%. So my question is if are you able to let this thing go, right? Is it something small like the person you share a cubicle with is like constantly, has like a cough that well, I don't know, terrible example. That's all I had. I don't know, that won't go away. That you can just be like, okay, I could put headphones in, like this is not a big deal. I can let this go. Um, or is it something that if you don't bring it up, it's going to continue to affect you and then it's going to affect the relationship that you have with them? Insofar that you start to build resentment and that resentment then breeds other behaviors in the relationship that keeps you at a distance from that person. So I think that's a really important one is if you don't bring this up, what do you foresee the consequences of that being? Um, because those consequences will end up hurting you and then end up hurting the relationship.
You know what's hilarious is the questions you came up with are drastically different than what I came up with.
Tell me, I'm ready. That is
So
why
when
the
you're the
two of us do this
if you're
podcast.
the Emily, you might those questions might not apply to you. But these ones might. So the one I always think about is wait, which is why am I talking? That's what I have to say to myself basically every time I'm interacting with someone. Why am I talking right now? Right? Hear myself talk because I feel like I'm right. Right? Like, so, like, if you are someone who's more on the grandiose side or an unbridled self expression person, wait, why am I talking? The other one I think about is yours. It's funny because you had said, like, does this like really matter? Like, really, how does this affect me? How am I thinking about it? Mine is like, zoom out. Will this matter in 30 days?
Yeah.
Because for me, most things do not. But when you're someone who just talks about everything, you have got to shut that shit down because most things do not matter. So if you're someone who's more introverted, you might have to like, like say to yourself, like, this does matter. This is important. I can say something. Where for me, I have to say to myself, you actually don't need to comment on every little thing that's ever existed in this planetary alignment. we can just shut the hell up.
This episode is so perfect for us. Like so perfect because we're going to have such different answers that are going to apply to everyone.
Okay.
I love this question. How to know when I'm harming myself by staying quiet versus harming my partner by divulging all my thoughts?
This is when, for me, what comes up from when I read this question is attunement. You have to be in tune with your partner. And we once again are not just talking about romantic relationships, of all relationships. How am I in tune with them? Right. So for you, how is your body starting to be affected? Are you having resentment? What's coming up with you? Has the attunement to yourself? And then on the cross side, say to yourself, is my partner shutting down? Did my partner stop answering? Is my partner becoming highly defensive? Right. Like what's starting to happen for my partner? And then I can say, okay, wait, I may need to pull it back. Because for me, my husband will shut down and I'll just like in the past, not anymore, I would just like keep going. Because I'm
Right.
like, what I have to say is so gosh darn important. But it really wasn't. Typically, what I have to say is not that important. But I would notice that he was shutting down, and then I would be upset that he was shutting down because actually it was activating my abandonment stuff. That I was like, he's not saying anything. He must be really mad. He must be about to leave me. So I have to like convince him not to with my words. And so for me, it's really attunement to myself. Am I checking on myself? Am I stopping talking? Am I waiting with my language and slowing down? And am I watching other people around me and I'm being attuned to them?
Oof. So attunement with yourself and then
Mhm.
attunement with other people. So good.
How do you
So
know when
good.
you're harming yourself?
When it starts to build up in my body, it's resentment and it keeps coming back over and over and over again. So in the same way, right? I think that, you know, it's easy for me to be very attuned to other people in a way that ends up keeping me from being attuned to myself. So my natural go-to is being like attuned to what do you need? What's going on for you? What are you feeling? And so the bigger challenge for me is being more attuned to myself of like, what do I need? And, you know, when do I need to speak up about this? And sometimes that just takes time in getting to know yourself and also looking at like your history and relationships, right? Like
Mm.
if you can look at, was there times in my relationships where it took me too long? And when it took me too long, like how did that end up affecting me? Like look at the past and say, is what I'm doing in my relationships in terms of like not speaking up, is that work actually working for me?
Yeah.
Um, or is it not? Is there something I need to change? Like look at the history. And then you get to make more of a decision. So if you're like me, it's going to be harder for you to hold your feet to the fire and say, like, I need to speak up about this. And if you're like Emmalee, it's going to be harder for you to say, like, I need to take it back. I need to say this in just a few sentences succinctly.
Okay. Here's a really interesting one
I'm ready.
for me. Recovering unbridled self expression giver, now biting my tongue. How to deal with the resentfulness. So, listen, when you're recovering from unbridled self expression, you shouldn't be biting your tongue all the time. What I want you to do is to think that whatever you need to say, you can say it in 3 sentences. I don't think you should say nothing because that will lead to resentment. What we don't want is the pendulum to swing the other way. What we don't want is for you to go from unbridled self expression to completely shut down because that's not actually going to help you or your relationships in the long run. Instead, when we're recovering from this, I want you to speak up. Speak up kindly, speak up bravely, speak up softly, and speak up in 3 to 4 sentences. Maybe you can have one compound sentence, but it doesn't going to do anything. So if you are feeling with resentfulness, you aren't communicating enough. Shutting up is not what we want people to do. We just want you to speak in a different way.
Find the balance.
Yeah.
That's the beauty. Remember we
It's
were gonna
it's yeah,
our first episode ever. What's it called? Balancing the
balancing the
bullshit.
bullshit. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
probably very bad. Don't listen to that season,
Don't
guys.
listen to it. Yeah. Don't go back, please. Can't even. You literally. It would kill me to listen to that.
We will. Then why do it?
We
Um,
wouldn't.
But I do think it's interesting. I think, and same thing, if you're someone who never spoke up, we don't want you to go the absolute other way where you speak up all the time about stuff that doesn't matter.
Mhm.
How do we think about what we want to communicate? What's the purpose of communicating and what's my goals for communicating it?
Mm, so good. Okay, what about
Mhm.
this one? What if you have a partner that is very blunt, has no filter, and defends it as honesty, but sometimes it's too honest and hurtful?
Hmm. Honesty without tact is cruelty.
I think so often people say, like, well, I'm honest. This is who I am. I'm just honest.
Yeah, but that's like people that say, like, well, I'm an asparagus under a siren moon, and so I'm a jerk. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Do people do people say that?
But people will be like, oh, it's because I'm a Virgo. Like, no, it's
I
because you're
see.
being
I
a
see.
jerk.
Yes.
Right. So like I feel like
Like
people
it's
will be
like an
like, well, that's
excuse.
me.
That's
Oh,
me. I'm honest. You knew who I was.
but like, dude, like, okay, so that's the thing is like I'm able to say, like, listen, I am this person who sometimes I have to go back to people and say, like, okay, here was an interaction we had at school the other day. This is like this happened months ago. With another mom at school. I made a very stupid joke about the state of Kansas. And she said, bitch, that's where I'm from.
Did she say bitch?
Yes, she did say bitch. This woman is hilarious. And like it seemed funny, but also I was like, oh, like, did I offend her? So all I did was text her afterwards and say, hey, I am really sorry if I made like just a bad joke. I was like clearly trying to be funny in the moment, and it doesn't seem like it was actually funny. And I just want to let you know, like, I'm thinking about that, and like I hope you and I are good. And she like wrote back and she wrote back and was like, yeah, like didn't give a shit at all.
I
But here's the difference. If I had said, like, oh, that's where you're from, sorry, it's just me, I'm a big bitch, then like that would be rude.
yeah.
There are times when I am sometimes too blunt and too forward, and I need to take accountability and apologize for that.
Mm.
What you don't do is just say, sorry, this is who I am. That's actually a level of avoidance.
And if you're on the other, right? So the person who wrote this in, if you're on the other end of it, it's also your responsibility to say, hey, listen, I understand, you have a lot of feelings about this. However, the way in which you're communicating this is really hurtful for me.
Yeah.
I can't hear you when you're communicating in this way.
Yeah.
And when you're in a relationship, it's almost your job as a couple to come up with your own way of communicating with each other.
Mhm.
And that way of communicating takes both partners to like work with each other.
Yeah.
So something that often happens is that like one partner might be talking very loudly and the other partner is taking that as, oh, you're yelling or like your
Mm.
tone. And the one partner is like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not yelling. Right. So like you're on different pages in terms of communication. The only way to get on the same page and to almost create your own way of communicating in your relationship is to be very honest on your end of like, listen, I need a different way of communicating. I need it to be a little softer, or I won't be able to hear you. I won't be
Yeah.
able to take this in. We won't be able to work through this. So let's talk about when you're feeling this way, like what's a different way that you can express it to me?
Mm. Mm. Um, partner goes through a very partner is going through a very stressful season of life. Sometimes feels like I don't have room to bring up important topics because I don't want to add to the stress. Where's the line? Ooh, it is not okay. So both things can be true, that we want to be respectful of people's experiences and what they're going through in life, and that we need to vocalize, right? Both of these things can be true at the same time. And so I think you have to be aware of how you bring something up, right? We don't want to attack someone. We don't want to put more pressure on, but talking about our feelings and processing through the stuff shouldn't be adding stress. And if it is an incredibly stressful thing to do, what's happening in our system together that's causing that?
Mm. Also, to talk about the process of bringing it up, to say to your partner, hey, I recognize you're going through a lot of stress at work, whatever's going on. And I want to be able to bring things up to you, but I want you to also feel like you have this space for it. Like I want to be very mindful of what you're experiencing. And if you're not in the space to talk about it right now, that's fine. Like, can we find a time for us to sit down and like talk about our relationship or talk about a few things? Then you're almost asking them to give consent or say like, hey, like I do have the space for this. And you're creating kind of this safety around the conversation of, you know, by saying like, I do want to bring something up, but I do understand you're going through this. And so can we create boundaries around this conversation so that they also come to the conversation knowing like, okay, now this is the time that we're going to talk about XYZ. We're going to talk about our relationship. So asking for almost like space, like, can you create this space? And then going from there. I think so often we keep ourselves from talking about the process of communicating. It's very meta communication. But it's so important. It's once again, you're learning a different way. You're almost once again learning a different language in your relationship. How do you start creating that?
Okay. If you bite your tongue a lot, what might be reflections to see if it's a you or them problem?
Do you do this in all relationships?
Or is it just certain relationships you're scared to talk about things?
So that's always the thing that we look at is this something that is perpetually difficult for you in every relationship? Is it difficult in friendships? Is it difficult with family? Is it difficult with previous partners? Or is it just hard in certain relationships? If it's just hard in specific relationships, there might be something about the nature of the system that makes it difficult. Have you tried to bring something up in the past and your partner or whoever is very reactive to it? Do they not give you the space? What happens that has maybe led you to holding your tongue more in this relationship? If it's something that perpetually has been in place in every relationship, I would kind of break it down to the studs and say, where did that start? Right? Where did you feel like you had space to express yourself as a child? How are people responding to you? Were kids supposed to be seen and not heard? Um, there's a lot of ways that this can, were you invalidated? There's a lot of ways that this can develop. There's a lot of reasons why this develops. So that would be my question, is really understanding, like, is this historically something that's difficult for you, or is this something that's present in your relationship now?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, right? When we talk about this idea of like, how long has something been with you? For me, I have to let things like go for a little bit to see like if it actually matters, right? Like I have to like give myself like 72 hours to see if I actually still care about something. Cause I can be someone who in, previous beings of my life was slightly reactive.
That's what I do. I do that too. Right.
Yeah.
Like I
So
really,
it's funny because yours is like it's interesting because we both do the same thing, but it's for different reasons.
yeah. Well, yes, that's true. I'm thinking about mine. But I think that, right. So like, but mine's still a right. We're both reacting in
Mhm.
different ways. Like mine is like shutting down.
Yours is more socially appropriate reacting.
Right. Right. Exactly. Like mine, people don't even know it's happening,
Yes. So no one would know, right? Where mine's like very obvious.
but we're both reacting. And
Yeah,
so
it's
that's
still a
something,
reaction. Yeah.
something to remember, is that like when
Well,
you're shutting down or when your partner's shutting down, they're still reacting. It's just, you might not recognize it as
and
reacting.
I think that's when you work with couples and you first tell them that, it like blows your minds. And I think they can sometimes get really offended because like I'm not someone who reacts. I'm like, bro, yes, you are. You just don't think that's a reaction.
Yes. Also,
Shutting down
everyone
and pulling
reacts.
away, everyone reacts.
If you're
Right. The question is,
human,
do you respond versus react?
right. And like, how much can you manage or work through your own emotions and understand what your reactions are so that you
Mhm.
can get to the point of like, I'm going to respond to this. And if I recognize that I'm reacting, what do I need in order to get back into this place where I can make a choice and I can actually respond in the situation?
Yeah. Friend had cancer 2 years ago, but still only wants to talk about cancer and it's tiring. Should I bring it up?
Mm, wow.
So here's what I'd say: is someone, whether we're talking about an illness, a breakup, a stress at work, if someone's talking about the same thing over and over again, the way to meet them is with love and curiosity of, hey, It's been 2 years. I'm so glad you're recovered. And this is still such a significant thing for you. It makes me a little worried for you. Do you have the support you need? Do you want me to help you find someone who specializes in chronic illness or health issues, something like that, right? Like, as opposed to saying, like, I can't fucking talk about cancer anymore.
Right.
You say, like, hey, we're still talking about this. I've had this experience with people in breakups. I'm like, I cannot talk about your ex for one moment longer because I think they suck, bro. But what I can say is, listen, I love you so much and you deserve to totally move on from this. And I want to make sure you have the support to do that. And I don't think it's always me. I don't think I'm the most helpful person. Sometimes it's the blind leading the blind. But meeting someone with love and curiosity because you went through something highly traumatic, the way often people try to process trauma through talking about something a lot, but you're not a trauma specialist. You're just this person's friend.
And we touch on this in our episode where we talk about empathy versus
Mhm.
enabling and how, empathy, if you kind of lean towards empathy and say, and help the person help themselves, right? And I wonder if when this first happened, when your friend first got diagnosed with cancer, of course, like if my friend got diagnosed, I would be like, call me anytime.
Totally.
Like all of my
I'd
boundaries,
move in with them.
me too. They'd be gone, like because it's so terrifying for the person and for you as their friend.
Yeah.
Like I can't even imagine what that must have been like. But I wonder if, did boundaries go out the window when she, your friend was experiencing this? And, did it lean towards, I don't even want to use the term like enabling or like codependency in a way, but where the person could call and talk about it anytime, right? Boundaries were out the window. And I just wonder if like maybe you've gotten to the point in the relationship where you're like, okay, I need to like kind of build these boundaries back up, right?
Yeah.
Like I need to kind of get back to the point where, our relationship kind of like readjusts. And that would be my guess is like there's this signal of like I need to kind of readjust in our relationship and like I want this person to be able to help themselves and I need to
Yeah.
kind of build boundaries back up that keep our relationship healthy so that you don't build resentment in the relationship.
It makes complete sense.
Right.
Okay. Here's an interesting one. Someone said, what about when speaking with your teen?
Oh, wow.
Hmm. I think the topic's going to matter here.
Yeah.
If it's something that's really important, like you're worried about your teen's safety, you need to speak up. You're the parent. If it's something that doesn't matter that much, like cleaning the room, does it matter, right? Like, and I think this is when we talk a lot about like zooming out of like, how much does something matter to you? For me, my daughter, I really don't happen what she does in the goddamn bedroom. I'll just close the door. But for some people, that matters a lot. But everything can't matter. Everything can't be a 100 because then when it's an actual 100, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah. I also think the way in which you speak to your teen matters. And I'm wondering, and we just have to like guess when we hear these questions, but I'm just wondering if maybe bringing things up in the past maybe didn't go so well.
Totally.
If maybe your teen was reactive to something. And so is there a different tactic you could use? If you look at the way in which maybe you've brought it up in the past, is there a different way to bring it up? Is there a way in which your teen might respond better to it? Um, because you might have to try different things as your child gets older, you might have to adjust the way in which you kind of talk to them in that relationship. And just as your child is changing, your relationship with them changes too. So it's, trial and error. If it didn't work last time, is there a different way to bring it up? Is there a different tone? Is there a different time to bring it up as well?
Yeah, I have one more question before we can move to Dear Em and Jen, because I
Tell
just
me.
have to tell this. What's the right move as a shoe-free house and some visitors don't remove their shoes? Okay, I just have to talk about this because my very, very, very good friends our shoe-free house, and if you don't remove your shoes in their house, they will give you booties to wear, like the booties that construction workers wear.
Wow.
Like it literally
I
says
respect it.
they have little kids that are crawling on the ground, and you know what I mean? Like they like whatever, like they have like their one kid is like super sensitive skin and can like easily have reactions. So, like it really matters to them. But also, even if that wasn't true, you get to like say the rules of your own house. So on their door when you walk in, it says we are a shoe-free home. And if you are not going to remove your shoes, to the side, there's a basket of booties. Do you not love that?
Obsessed with it. It's very straightforward. Do you remember the episode of Sex in the City?
And then the Manolos got stolen.
Yes,
Carrie goes
yes.
to a thing. She doesn't. Carrie goes to a party. Her shoes are part of her outfit. She does not want to remove said shoes. She does it like because she's like, what other choice do I have? And then when it's time to leave, her shoes were stolen.
So good. I love that episode. I love Sex in the City.
Right. Can I tell you though, the only people that so I'm a shoe-free house too. The only people that don't remove their shoes in the house, guess.
Millie?
You're my parents. It's parents. It's like always some like older person who's like, I'm not gonna do that.
Do you say something to them?
No, it's my dad. It's so pointless.
Because he says no.
No, he's just like, I'm gonna leave my shoes on. And I'm like, fucking whatever.
Okay.
And but even my parents don't have a shoe-free house.
Wow.
No, they always have shoes on in the house.
Wow.
Yes.
When I walk into a house, I usually look at other people's feet.
I usually just take my shoes off in general because I just like not having shoes on.
I also like not having shoes on.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, I went to my friend's house. And it's a new house. And I walked in, and I was like, oh, do you want me to take my shoes off? I looked down, they were both wearing shoes. I was like, oh, okay.
I just take them off immediately the second I walk in. I
Okay,
don't
so
want to wear my shoes.
Right. I honestly hate that too. Okay. So the
Yes.
question is, what's the right move as the shoe free house? And some vendors don't remove their shoes. So how straightforward are you being? Like what are you saying?
Are you just hoping they realize to take off their shoes?
Right. Are you saying, or are you saying like, hey, do you mind taking off your shoes?
Yeah. We try to have a shoe-free home. Yeah. Right. Or just be like my friends who have booties next to their door.
Yeah. Or say, take off your shoes or get out.
Yeah. Or we can all hang out outside if you're not comfortable with that. Right.
Maybe give everyone slippers.
Oh, that would be lovely.
That's such a good idea. Like
I was at a wedding.
Get ssandals. You get like
At a lot of weddings. Well, I was going to say, at weddings, weddings, my missus, they usually have flip-flops.
Yeah.
I was at a wedding this weekend and we all like ended up with flip-flops. A bunch of people came and slept at my house afterwards. And so like all of a sudden there was like all of these pairs of Old Navy flip-flops in my hallway. And I was like, oh, what do I do with these? Like, should I like throw them out? And my friend Jessie was like, no, like leave them. You have a pool. So next time someone comes, it doesn't have like sandals, just say, take these home. And I was like, what a great idea.
Genius.
Right? Okay.
Give them to your dad. Give them to your dad. Like, okay, Dad, you can wear these sandals. Okay, dear Emma Jen.
These are for you.
Wow, this one's long. Okay, I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
You want me to read it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Dear Emma Jen, I could really use your advice on everyone's favorite topic, in-laws. But to make this relationship a little more complicated, my in-laws are also my bosses. Holy shit.
Gag me.
To try to keep a very long story short, I moved away from home to my husband's home state and work full time for his parents' business.
Wow.
When the business came about, it was a new family venture for all of us. Being young, dumb, and in love, I got swept up in something I didn't fully comprehend at the time. Wow, happens all the time. My husband's family is extremely work focused, owning multiple businesses while I value work-life balance. They are easily able to separate professional versus personal feelings, while I am much more sensitive and tend to take things more personally. 6 years into this, and the stress of my work home environment has caused me to deal with tons of anxiety and negative feelings towards my in laws. The real breaking point in our relationship was when they brought up the idea of a prenup right before our wedding. They expected me not to have any negative feelings about it because it was purely a smart business decision and nothing personal. It caused multiple disagreements even between our two families, and it still causes arguments in my marriage to this day because I can't seem to let it go. It was so hurtful and traumatic, and my husband wants to forget it ever happened. While I am able to have a seemingly normal and close relationship with my in-laws on the surface, I still hold on to so much resentment. I can't help but feel like my in-laws push me into a life and a situation I wouldn't have ever chosen for myself. I resent that they taught my husband that work was more important. I feel like I'm competing for his time and attention because there's always some work thing that could be done for the family businesses. And he was never shown what it means to make time for marriage and family. How do I learn to let the resentment go and not let it affect my marriage? Thank you for any advice. Your podcast is so helpful and I look forward to it every Monday. P.S. I would love for you to have therapists in Vermont. We
We
do.
do. We do. We have therapists in Vermont. If you want someone, we have someone great. You will love them. Great with boundaries. But let's talk this through because one, I want to start by saying, young, dumb, and in love, you are not dumb.
No.
These things happen all the time. There was nothing wrong. You were in love. It probably was a great business decision. And these things happen. And we can't see into the future. We don't know what's going to happen here. But here's the thing. The question they're asking is, how do I learn to let go of the resentment and not affect my marriage? The issue is that there was a rupture in the marriage that needs to be repaired. So you say we still have arguments until this day, but do you have resolution to this day? Have you and your partner been able to have conversations? And maybe this is a really great opportunity for couples therapy where they can hear you, right? Like that, like he's able to say to you, like, you know what, like this, I'm sorry. And I didn't realize this was hurting you. And this is my values. And the thing is that some of us don't know what's our values versus what's our parents' values. And you might need to do some exploring together to figure out what that is. But if the resentment is that strong, I think that there's more conversations about just learning to let it go.
I would also, I mean, your lives are so intertwined with your husband's parents. I just want to like validate how hard that is in general.
Yeah.
And so I think something that's really important is to figure out like, do you need more boundaries with them? You know, what do you, just because you entered into this life at some point, it doesn't mean you can't make a change to those relationships, right? Like, do you need to step back from working for the family business? Like, do you want to make any changes there?
Yeah.
Um, you know, you said something about, I feel like my in-laws have like pushed me into this life that I never wanted. Um, and you know, what happens so often in relationships is that like we change, right? Like we're human beings, we change all the time. And so it just sounds like maybe what you thought you wanted at a point has changed. And so
Yeah.
allow yourself to make is there another job that you want that's outside of the family business? If so, how can you communicate about that and what does that look like? So that's what I would say is allow yourself to make the change, allow yourself to um talk to your partner about wanting something different. There's other options here than just being stuck in the same thing.
And I had to think, I'm also thinking about like, the part about the prenup, right? Like the reality is like a lot of people do treat marriage like a business. And for
Yeah.
some people, marriage is a business. And so for them, that's what this was. Like it wasn't personal to them. Something cannot be personal to them and it felt personal to you. And the hard part is like, how do I separate myself and say, like, this is truly what their belief is? And does this actually work for me? Because they weren't trying to attack you with that. For them, it was truly just business. But you're also allowed to say, like, this isn't how I want to run my life.
Right.
And you have more choice than that.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Shrink Chicks.
We'll see you back here next week for another session.
In the meantime, if you want a question answered or a topic discussed, follow us on Instagram at ShrinkChicks. And if you're looking to get connected with a therapist like us to start or continue your therapeutic journey, visit thetherapygroup.com. Just fill out a contact form on our website, and we will personally match you with one of our amazing therapists. And for all of our therapists and group practice owners out there, we also offer group practice consulting.
And if you're looking to support yourself further and support our show, check out our amazing merch options at shrinkchicks.com/merch and our Know Yourself, Grow Yourself journal on Amazon. Also, if you'd be so kind, we'd love a rating review and for you to share with a friend or an enemy or a mother-in-law, honestly, whoever needs it, so that we can keep reaching more people on our mission to bring mental health topics to your ears every week.
Thanks for being here with us. And don't forget to grow yourself. You got to know yourself.